drivers, start your engine! Entering its 7th season, the Lapped Traffic Podcast has brought you over 300 shows, driver and media interviews, awesome stories and entertainment, and one of the coolest fantasy leagues around. Get ready for another exciting season. Sit back, relax, and try not to get lapped. Now, here's your host, the Professor, Brendan Krall.
What is up, Lap Traffic Nation? Welcome to episode 315 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. Yes, I am your host, the Professor Brandon Krall. Hope you all had a great weekend. Hope you all had a great 4th of July. Took a much-needed week off from the real job. Definitely needed a full week off. What do we have? 9 days between 2 weekends in the week. And had some family over for the 4th. Played a couple rounds of golf. And my golf game has just come together over the years, which is crazy because when I first started playing golf, I sucked. Like brutal. Like 9 holes, we're talking, shooting mid-50s. To now, a few years ago, I took some lessons and have honed in the game. And, when I can go out there and shoot mid to low 40s for 9, I will take that. Pars, birdies, it's sweet when you can do it. But the problem is there's still that lack of consistency to where I can still go out there and shoot a 50 on 9 or something like that. And that just really pisses me off. But I had 2 great rounds of golf, which was awesome. Got to spend a bunch of time with Lindsay and Alden, which was great. And I tell you, this little guy is coming into his own little person here at almost 17 months old, which is so much fun to watch him grow and to watch his curiosity grow. We were in the living room the other day and we're like, where's Alden? Oh my God, where's he at? And all of a sudden he comes walking, wobbling, kind of like a penguin because he's still getting used to it, with a Pedialyte freeze pop in his hand. Like, I want this. It's absolutely amazing. And I know the fellow parents out there can relate to me on that. But here we are, back to work, back to the grind, back to podcasting, and all of that good stuff. So tonight, I'm excited. He makes an appearance at least a couple times a year, and this is his first time this season. You might know him as the Orange Cone. Just FYI, that Twitter handle that had so much fun over the years. But Charles Krall from the ARCA series is going to be on. We're going to talk ARCA. We're going to talk NASCAR. We'll poke fun at me because that's very easy to do and have a good time there. And a little later in the show, Brian Neudorff is going to come on and talk about weather because it's been some crazy weeks between Chicago and Atlanta, and hell, why not? Let's get the professionals' take on some things here. So we got that. We'll do some recaps, all that good stuff. Lap Traffic Fantasy to close it out, and yeah. So without further ado, let's get Mr. Charles Krall back on the line. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line, making his 23rd appearance on the show. Cannot wait to catch up with him. It's been a minute since we've talked, and catch up with ARCA, all that good stuff. Welcome back to the show, Charles Krall. What's up, brother? How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me on, Brandon. Great to be back.
Of course, brother. Anytime. Always. It's always an open invite. How was the 4th of July, man?
It's good. I still have all 10 fingers, so I suppose that's a good thing.
Excellent. Excellent.
We had a race on Saturday night of 4th of July weekend out at Irwindale Speedway, and that was a pretty good show. A lot of fireworks fighting for the lead on that one, and then we followed it up with a wonderful fireworks show of our own in our backyard. Our Sylvania in suburban Toledo, Sylvania fireworks take place like right in our backyard. So we had a really nice view of that, and nice to just decompress for a couple of days, and then we got back to the racetrack with our race at Mid-Ohio on Friday of last weekend, and of course that one was filled with fireworks. So I actually think I'm ready to just have a weekend without any
fireworks,
added excitement.
I love it. Family, all that's good.
Everybody's doing great. My son Alex has started racing a dirt street stock out at Oakshade Raceway with my stepfather, and they have a great time doing it. And,
that's great.
I got to spend some time with him out at the racetrack on Saturday night. And, it's fun to be able to go race and watch a kid who's never really driven a street car or anything like that. Just kind of absorbing everything and taking it all in, and it is just a lot of fun.
Sure, awesome, man. And you're kicking ass on the bike, man. I mean, I see the Facebook posts. It's record after personal record being broken there.
Well, just to be clear, there are lots of people who can run faster than I can ride my bike. But you set a goal, and you want to go out there and achieve it, and that's what I'm doing. For a 50-year-old guy, I think I'm hanging in there pretty well.
Excellent. I love it. Good deal. All right, man. Well, let's talk some ARCA racing after a month. Well, not a month off, but you guys have a sporadic start, if you will, to your schedule. You guys are now in full swing, right?
Yeah, so we do. We actually do have just about a month off between, the races at Daytona and Phoenix. And then we go from Phoenix to Talladega, which is about another month. And then we have some, a West race, interspersed here and there, and an East race interspersed here and there. But at this point, from the time we went to Kansas Speedway back in May through looking at my calendar, the last weekend of October, I have one weekend off in that time frame.
Damn, I didn't mean to make you see that.
Yeah, it's like I think we have a total of 35 races on our schedule this year, spread across the 3 series, and this is the time of year where I think we have something like 26 races in 22 weeks.
Wow!
So it keeps us really busy, and I am. No one will ever get me to say anything otherwise. I am one of the lucky guys who gets to work every one of those races. And, whether I'm traveling like I am this weekend out to Iowa, or I get to call one of the West races from the studio in my home office. I am. I'm lucky. I really enjoy getting to work at this level. People ask me all the time, why don't you want to go work up in the Cup Series? Why don't you want to go work in the Truck Series? Or, I like having the life that I've set up.
Sure, absolutely.
I love to get to go to the racetrack and see all those people, and but I also like to have a few Saturdays and Sundays at home every now and then.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
No, but I do. I consider myself to be a very lucky guy to get to work with the people that I want to work with at the level that I'm, really comfortable working at. And, being busy like this, it's what we look forward to, man.
Sure.
We get to this part of the season. It's like, let's go race.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you, most of the Midwest, you do a lot of driving, or do you do mostly flying?
Oh, we drive everywhere, man.
Okay.
The only place we don't drive to is Phoenix.
Okay.
And it's a haul. That's probably a day and a half's worth of driving.
Sure.
To get out west. So, but we'll be driving out to Iowa this week. Then we'll drive to Pocono the week after that. Thankfully, we've got a couple of home races. At least, relatively
Sure.
close to home races after that, with Michigan coming up on the 4th of August, and then Indianapolis Raceway Park on August 11th. But I'll tell you what, Brandon, that weekend after that is the one that I kind of circle all year long. It's 3 races in 3 different time zones on 3 straight days.
That's
We've got
intense.
Watkins Glen in New York.
Yep.
We will drive out to that one.
Okay.
And then as soon as that's over, we'll hop in the car and come home. On Saturday, the 19th, I will broadcast the ARCA West race from Evergreen Speedway out in Washington. That'll be live on Flow. And then as soon as that's over, I'm going to catch a couple-hour nap, and then I'll hop up, wake up in and hop in the car and drive to Springfield, Illinois for the first of our 2 dirt track races with the ARCA and NASCAR series on Sunday, August 20th. So it's a lot of driving, very little sleeping, very, very little sleeping, but a lot of driving over the course of those 3 days. But it's absolutely my favorite weekend of the year. 3 just distinctly different types of racing in 3 different time zones, and I'm the lucky guy who gets to work all 3 of them.
That's cool, man. You've been calling a lot more races, obviously, as you've kind of progressed in this role with ARCA. I know you used to do it every once in a while. Obviously, track announcing and all that kind of stuff. Is it becoming more comfortable for you? Do you get a kick out of it? How's that going?
I love doing it. I don't know if I'm any good at it, but I love doing it. It's a lot of fun for me. It's not something that I ever really thought I would ever have an opportunity to do, particularly when I was in college. I did not go to school to be a broadcaster. But I've had some really lucky breaks in the course of my career and have been put in a position where I have the opportunity to do these. And my only goal is for the people at home to have as much fun watching as I'm having calling them.
Sure.
And I hope that comes across. I mean, certainly not every lap. I'm not, screaming at the top of my lungs.
Right.
Maybe like the Formula One guy does. I don't know how he does that, but he is like on the chip for the entire 90 minutes there. But I want everybody to have fun. Whether I'm on the mic at a racetrack, doing pre-race driver introductions or, calling an East or a West race, I'm having a great time, and I want everybody else to have a great time with me. And, I certainly would take the opportunity to do, some racing up the ladder, if that was ever presented to me. But I really do. I'm really happy doing this. I never thought I would even get the opportunity to get this far, to be quite honest. So to have this opportunity is a dream come true, and we'll just see where it goes. But if this is all it ever was, man, I'm still a lucky guy to get to do it and literally living the dream.
That's great, man. No, that's so cool. You mentioned you guys were at Mid-Ohio this past weekend. That's kind of a staple track for the ARCA Menard series, I feel. Tyler Ankrum picked up the win. And I went back and I couldn't. Did Tyler run, many races, ARCA, before he got in the truck?
He's only made one other start. He finished, I think, 22nd at Watkins Glen. I don't think it was last year. I think it was the year before that at Watkins Glen. He finished 22nd. He did win the ARCA East Championship back in 2018. Of course, that was when it was the NASCAR K&N Pro Series. Sure. But he does have a championship at this level, but he didn't come and race the National ARCA Tour. But that one time back in 2021, and I'm kind of bummed that he ran that one race at Watkins Glen, too, because it would have been cool to add him to our list of first start winners.
Oh, yeah,
but,
absolutely.
That would have been cool. But in any case, he's the 354th different driver to win at least one ARCA race since 1953. So, yeah, cool to have your name down in that record book.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about Frankie Muniz for a minute. Doing very well in his rookie season. What's it? It's a big name. Someone from the acting world. He's run many different racing series. Talk about the draw that's done from a fan base, from a sponsorship. What somebody like that do for the series, and how's that been so far?
What it does for us is it gives us a lot of exposure in platforms that we never would have appeared on. People Magazine and TMZ and GQ and it broadens our reach tremendously. Daytona was just insane. It's been a long time since ARCA was a topic on SportsCenter, and we were a topic on SportsCenter.
Sure. No, that's awesome.
So it does. It puts us in front of a lot more eyeballs than we would have had ordinarily. And the great thing about Frankie is having now spent half a year around him and his wife Paige, and they really are just wonderful people.
That's great.
You hear that about a lot. A lot of people you bump into, and he's a really nice guy. Yeah, Frankie is just a terrific guy. He very rarely, I think, and maybe I could be proven wrong somewhere down the line, but very rarely do you reach the levels of success and fame and stardom that someone like Frankie has achieved, and you're just a miserable person. I don't think that happens. Yeah. I don't think that happens very often. Right. I think that success in life often is directly correlated to your attitude as a human being. And he does. He's got a great attitude. He's always smiling. He's got a great sense of humor. He does not mind, within reason, of course, does not mind sharing his time with race fans and, people who watched him, as Malcolm on Malcolm in the Middle, sure, or Agent Cody Banks, or Dancing with the Stars. He does. I'm sure it gets tough. Hearing the same things over and over, or retelling the same story. Sure. Multiple times, but he does it with a smile on his face, and he's a very gracious person. But what I really like about Frankie is I think he's a racer, man. I've been around the sport my whole life, and I've worked in the sport now for 25 years, and seeing, you can kind of tell when someone is there just to be there, yep, and when someone is there because they are just burning with desire to be a race car driver. And that's Frankie, man. He wants to race. He wants to be a racer. He is a racer. And he keeps joking with me. He's like, man, I just want to feel like I just want to prove to people that I belong here. And I'm like, dude, you've already done that.
Yeah.
You've proven it. You've gotten in there and you've mixed it up with these guys at places like Daytona and Talladega, and you've knocked fenders with these guys at the short tracks, and you've had a great finish on a road course. And for someone who really only has 8 races
and 6 top 10s
as a stock car driver. Yeah. I mean, 8 races as a stock car driver and 6 of them are top 10s.
Yeah.
He can do this, man.
Yeah. That's awesome.
He's all he needs is laps and the right people around him. And he's got a great team around him right now. He really does. The Rhett Jones Racing team, Mark Rhett and that team do a great job with him. And it has been just an eye-opening experience for me. It's funny too, because, I think we kind of get insulated a little bit, when we do work inside this industry and we're exposed to, Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon and, Denny Hamlin, and these guys are true superstars, and then we come to some of these other events, and then you got like a Mario Andretti or an AJ Foyt, and they're just absolute superstars, and people go crazy when they see them. And to us, the folks who are fortunate enough to work on the inside, it's like, oh, well, there's Jimmy. Or there's Jeff, or there's, hey, cool, it's Mario. How cool is that? But it's funny because it's like, oh, there's Frankie.
Yeah. One of the boys.
Right. Yeah. He's just one of the guys. Yeah. He's just one of the guys. And, I think it's interesting because I always wonder how much of that translates and how much of that is similar to, Hollywood. When you're on the set of Agent Cody Banks or whatever movie Frankie may be working on next, I'm sure the guys who set up the equipment and run the equipment, they're not like, oh my God, it's Frankie Muniz. It's like, oh, Frankie's here.
Yep.
It's at some point.
Same thing. Yeah.
You're one of the guys doing your job.
Yep.
And I think Frankie at this point is one of the guys doing his job. And I think that's really what he's wanted right from the start is, I'm making this transition. I'm still going to go and do some acting, but I'm making this transition to where I want to be a racer. And I really do. I think he's become one.
That's awesome.
And I'm anxious to see what the rest of the season holds for him here at this level, and to see what's next, because I think he's a really competitive dude, man. He is. I could tell. Hey, he finished 6th at Mid-Ohio, and I think that's like the 4th time maybe that he's finished 6th.
Yeah.
He hasn't cracked the top 5 just yet, and it's driving him crazy. He's like, I want him to get a top 5. He is. He's just a really competitive guy, and I think as he gets some laps and he builds that confidence and he builds that knowledge base, I think he's going to be just fine. I'm excited for him, and I look forward to seeing what's next for him
awesome.
when we get to 2024.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's great for the sport, great for like you said, the exposure level is just got to be, hands down, great for the series, great for racing, great for stock car, right? There's nothing but positive things to come around from something like that, and having someone like him that's got that great attitude, in the sport, which is fantastic.
Yeah, not a single negative as a part of this.
No, that's great. That's great. Let's do a little circle here over to the NASCAR side of things. Coming off a interesting weekend at Atlanta and an interesting weekend at the Chicago Street Course. What did you think about that whole experience?
Well, let's talk
Chicago?
about them chronologically.
Yeah.
I think the Chicago race was awesome.
Yes.
I've been lucky as I met my wife to spend a lot of time in Chicago the last couple of years, particularly right there.
Yeah,
Grant
absolutely.
Park,
yeah.
Michigan Ave and Grant Park. And, my daughter Samantha went in her high school marching band, was in the St. Patrick's Day parade there in 2019. And that was right. I mean, we literally stood to watch that parade, literally stood at the start finish line of the Chicago Street Course. So I knew what to expect as far as what it was going to be like in and around that area.
Sure.
All of the naysayers talking about, it's going to be too dangerous, and oh, come on. It's like this is like the Midwest version of the Las Vegas Strip.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's just be, whether you like big cities or not.
Yeah.
Let's
that's just what it
be
is.
realistic.
Yeah.
Let's be realistic here.
Yeah.
And but as far as the race was concerned, every minute of that race to me was entertaining. There was always something happening. There was always, something you had never seen before was happening. It did. The vibe reminded me of 1994 when the series went to Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the first time.
Sure.
It was very cool. It was all new. It was, you really didn't know what was going to happen next. And to come away with a first-time winner that most of us had never heard of prior to Saturday, was just beyond cool to me. So I loved every second of it. And moving on to Atlanta, I think that the remodel of that racetrack, whether you thought they should have or not, is one thing. But they did, and in the new version of Atlanta Motor Speedway, I think is exciting as heck. I do. I love those races. I get bummed when the guys that I'm pulling for don't have a good day. Like our Daytona winner, Greg Van Alst, had a bummer day on Saturday night, and that was a bummer. But I'll tell you what, man, those races from start to finish are exciting, and you don't know what to expect. Just like Chicago, you don't know what to expect. You don't know what's going to happen next.
Absolutely.
I loved it. I wish we would have gotten to the finish last night, but you can't argue with Mother Nature, and she's going to do what she's going to do. But great races, lots of fun, and just I always just what are if you don't like that, if you thought that race was no good, you know, what do you think is good?
Right. No, I'm with you. I'll tell
what
you.
else are you looking for?
That
You know?
that the race in Atlanta yesterday was I think the best race they've had on the repave. I think that was, you know, kind of what we've been looking for to get out of Atlanta, and you know, I think they finally got that dialed in a little bit. And Chicago, I thought that was absolutely fantastic. I felt bad for the fans, you know, from the weather side of things, and I can only imagine if weather wasn't a factor, if they didn't have to go back and forth from the slicks, you know, it could have been even better, and it was a fantastic race to begin with. So I'm excited for a second opportunity, you know, with that street course again.
Yeah, and hey, it's from where you're at, man. It's only about 3 hours away, so hopefully you get a chance to go and check it out next year.
That will definitely be on the list. There is no doubt about that. Let's see here, man. Anything else? Are you going to be up? Obviously, you'll be up at MIS for the ARCA race.
Yeah, I'll be up there on
for the Cup.
I'll be up there on Friday. There's a good chance that the kids and I will be up there on Sunday as well.
Okay. Excellent.
You know, it's one of those situations. It's a free weekend day,
right?
So,
yes, right.
A very busy time of the year.
Yes, no,
so
I hear you.
There may be something else that happens that takes priorities, but I think my kids are wanting to go up and see the Cup race, and I really would like to just go and sit in the stands and be a fan for the day, and I think we'll be up there for that. But yeah, I definitely will be there on Friday, and if you're looking for drivers to talk to, we'll see if we can't get some to come in and chat with you.
Well, I'll be honest. So this is my the first race weekend that I will only be there on Sunday because I'm going to drive out to the SRX race at Berlin on Thursday. That's going to be my first time at Berlin, so I'll be driving back from that on Friday, and then Saturday we'll be going to WrestleMania, or not, I wish it was WrestleMania, SummerSlam at Ford Field on Saturday.
All right.
And then we'll be
busy weekend.
It is a busy weekend, yes. So, and then make the drive out Sunday for the Cup race. So
busy weekend. Well, I'll make sure that we cross paths on Sunday then.
Absolutely. Sounds good, man. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on the show 23 times. I appreciate you as always.
You got it.
I have to wrap with this just because Ashley texts, man, I don't know, this must have been a month or two ago. For anyone that's listened to you on the show over these last 20 some appearances, have joked about Old Gare. And some of you may remember the stories of Old Gare, and
you let your wife go on a date with Old Gare accidentally.
I did, unknowingly. And that you guys actually know his family to some degree.
We do. They live in our neighborhood.
Like, what a small world. Like, hey, how do you know Gary such and such? I'm like, that's Old Gare. No way.
That's Old Gare.
Yeah,
that's Old Gare.
Well,
I don't know him as well as Lindsay does, but yeah, that's Old Gary.
Oh, that's great.
Hey, that's okay. Ashley actually went on 3 dates with a golf pro and didn't know it.
Hey,
so it happens.
It does happen. It does happen. Oh, I love it. I love it. All righty, man. Well, listen, thanks for coming on. Stay as sane as possible over this busy schedule, and we'll see you in a couple weeks at MIS.
You got it, man. We'll talk to you soon, Brandon.
Thanks, man. We'll see you. Bye. Just love talking with him. Just become a great friend. And I say this every time he's been on the show over the years. From the first time seeing him at MIS, season 1 of the Lap Traffic Podcast to now, just great guy, great human being. And he does so much for the show, and I appreciate him so much for that. So, all right, let's get into this past weekend and a couple other things I want to touch upon. So Truck Series, Corey Heim picking up another win. Trucks are off for this week. They're skipping New Hampshire, and we'll be back at it at Pocono for what is 2 more races to go in the truck regular season. And the truck's playoff grid is going to get set here. And I don't know you want to call it shaking up or not, but, when we look at the fact that 10 guys are going to make it, Matt Crafton sitting there on the cut line with 385, Stuart Friesen just 1 point behind him. Tanner Gray's about 20 points back. Chase Purdy, Tyler Ankrum might be challenging from a points perspective, but, Pocono has provided some very crazy truck racing over the years. And, you get the right wreck, you get the right lucky break, is it possible that someone might be able to go and win their way into this thing? And Richmond, the trucks haven't raced Richmond as frequently. I believe they went there last year. Yes, they went there last year. They've been there the last 3 years, and I know that. And you don't know that I hit the pause button for about 60 seconds there, but I did. Because if only there was some way to check on a podcast and, be able to start and stop at your leisure. That's the perk here. Yes, they've been racing back at Richmond since 2020. So they were there back in 2005. They took a 15-year break racing trucks at Richmond. So glad to have them back there. But so we'll see what that brings us as far as any outlier finishes that we might see there. But I do love the fact that Matt Benedetto's in there. Nick Sanchez is in there. I think we're setting up for a pretty interesting truck playoffs. They've got some great races that they'll hit throughout their playoffs. And, it's going to be fun to see Ben Rhodes going for it. Grant Enfinger's really stepped his game up. Christian Eckes, and then what could potentially be the favorites, Zane Smith, Ty Majeski. Even though Ty doesn't have a win yet this year, he is always up there for contention. All right, over to the Xfinity Series side of things. I picked John Hunter Nemechek a lot in Lap Traffic Fantasy, and I finally struck gold with him this past week with picking up the win. It seems like the weeks I don't take him, or maybe I take a Justin Allgaier or an Austin Hill, that's when John Hunter will win. But no, we were able to finally hit one, because that was the thing I've been lacking in Lap Traffic Fantasy, as I'll get to later on in the show, is I've only picked 2 winners so far this year up until this past weekend. So now I've got a whopping 3. But then there's like Andrew, who's picked 11 winners. So while I'm up there, my bonus points are struggling quite a bit. But anyways, New Hampshire Xfinity, the Atlanta Xfinity race, pretty decent. It didn't give me any wow factors in either direction. It just kind of is what it was there. So I will, I'll take that. Obviously the talk is with the Cup Series, weather shortened race 2 weeks in a row. Racing on a Sunday night, another night race, that's got people going all about some things, and I get it. And we talked about it last week on the show in terms of Sunday night racing and how it's got to be done at only, in my opinion, certain tracks can pull off a Sunday night race when it's not a holiday weekend. And, the attendance, it was pretty decent. Weather probably impacted things a little bit. The type of racing we've had at Atlanta the last couple years maybe impacted things a little bit, but the racing last night was honestly pretty solid. You had a lot of comers and goers last night. Part of that due to some wrecks and some strategy that played out for some and didn't play out for others. When you look at the stage positions for stage 1 and 2 and the finishing position, typically, you're going to see everybody within maybe the top 15 finishing with that's how they finished in the stages. There might be some variances there, but when you look at how they finished, I mean, you got guys that, William Byron finished 5th in stage 1, won the race. Eric Almirola, he finished 18th, but 10th in stage 1. Martin Truex Jr., 3rd in stage 1, finished 29th. Kyle Larson obviously involved in his accident. You had Ross Chastain involved in things, which I know that's, always causing. Ross Chastain's doing just Ross Chastain things coming off, his win a couple weeks ago. But there was a lot of variance there spread up and down throughout the finishing position on where people finish in the stages. And, is that the telltale that it was a good race? Not necessarily. If you were to see something like this at a Kansas, at a Michigan, at a Dover, then I'd say yes. A lot of this, I think, had to do with strategy, them calling the race. But when you've got guys like Michael McDowell, who's proven to be a very good, plate racer, Atlanta's a cross, if you will, in that. AJ Allmendinger, same thing. Daniel Suarez. those are three guys that finish in the top four that we're not talking about typically on average, which is kind of surprising with Daniel Suarez because he had a great year last year. A little regression this year, I would say. But, Tyler Reddick finished, outside the top 20. Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., Corey LaJoie, who was picked by quite a few of you guys for Lap Traffic Fantasy, didn't have his typical style of race. So it was interesting. I thought it was pretty good. And then again, going back to the night racing side of things, there's obviously pros and cons. I don't mind it. I think it's great to throw a few Sunday night races in the mix. I know a lot of people made the analogy to Sunday Night Football and that we watch that. Some people say, well, I only watch it if it's my team, which I get that. If you're big into fantasy football and you've got a player or a couple key players going Sunday night, maybe you'll tune it in versus having to just sit down and watch the race because, hey, it doesn't matter whether it's your team, quote unquote, because your guy's out there, you're going to want to watch it. So there's definitely a lot of pros and cons to doing it in terms of the payoff from a viewership perspective as well as an attendance perspective. And, we'll just have to see how this pans out for them as they move forward and, throwing a few of these in from the network side of things. I know that plays a role as well. So there you have that. All right. I'm going to get to a couple questions that you guys asked me to talk about on Twitter. Switched it up a little bit. Everybody knows I'm a Kevin Harvick guy and wanted to know what I thought about the Kevin Harvick and Richard Childress pace lap. I thought that was awesome. Just a ton of history for Kevin Harvick at Atlanta. Obviously, that's where he got his first win back in 2001 with that incredible finish with Jeff Gordon there. So that was special. He's had a lot of success at Atlanta, so that was just very cool to see. Let's see. Scott at 1985 Wagner. Should stage brake laps be removed across the board, or should stage brakes lap not count in laps of the race? I have been a big proponent of, I get the whole stage breaks. I get it. I know a lot of people still don't like that aspect. A lot of people don't like the points, the playoff format, all of that. I get it. I can get on board with all of that. And I've been saying for years that if we're going to have manufactured cautions, which in my opinion, that's what the stage breaks are, then those caution laps should not count. Now, there's an incident on the track to bring the yellow out and you want to count the caution laps, by all means. But for the stage breaks, if we're going to continue to have them, I personally feel like that we should not count those. I get that adds to the amount of, it extends things a little bit, but in the grand scheme of things, you're not getting the actual advertised distance to be run potentially under green. And you should always have that, in my opinion. If it's a 400-mile race, the potential should be there to be able to run that under green. And if there's no cautions, on-track incidences, things of that nature. So I feel like we should be able to have 400 laps or 200 laps if it's a 2-mile track of green flag racing. And when you have these stage breaks, well, you're taking away from that. And so it's not actual, 400 miles or 200 laps or 400 laps, whatever the case may be, because of the fact, depending on the length of the track, we're talking anywhere between 2 to 5 laps run under yellow before we get back going green, which is taking away from that advertised distance, in my opinion. So I've always been a big proponent of, having them. That's fine. I don't care. That doesn't bother me. But we should not be counting those towards the actual laps of the race. So there's my rant on that one. So thanks for sending that in. Sammy at SSINCA 13 said there was so much to talk about between rain, fuel strategy, poor handling cars. We saw the fuel strategy play out based on the finishing positions there, I think, as I talked about a little bit ago. The rain, I'll get to that with Brian Neudorff here in a little bit. And, poor handling cars. You look at John Hunter Nemechek. I don't know how he pulled off the win with the way his car was handling there. That was crazy. I've talked about it for the last few weeks here, just in terms of, they got to figure out something with the package at the tracks that they're going to. I think the car has the potential to perform. We've seen it when they run the packages that we all want, right, at the tracks that we want them to run them at. We want, more horsepower at the short tracks. And, when they give it to us, we seem to get the better races. But I digress on that. So, all right. Thanks for a couple questions there. I appreciate that. We'll get back to more of your feedback next week as well. Right now, though, let's do a little Lap Traffic social media. Everybody make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, Facebook, The Lap Traffic Podcast, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, all at Lap Traffic PC. If you've made it this far into the show, leave a review. Tell your friends. I've got free stickers and koozies to mail out. All you got to do is email me, DM me, shoot me a tweet, whatever the case may be, and I will get one out to you. Still got some giveaways going on. Hoping to get some merch in the mail here over the next week or two, and we'll get some new fresh things going, and hopefully get that follower count driven back up there. So, all right. Little condensed social media segment there. We haven't heard the weather music in quite some time, but let's talk to Mr. Brian Neudorff, see what he's got to say about all the crazy weather that we've had over the last couple of weekends. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line for a special appearance. It's at the time we'd normally do the weather segment, if you've been a longtime listener. Welcome back to the show to debunk, to vent, and go off on the Twitter trolls. Mr. Brian Neudorff, how are you, sir? Welcome back.
I'm actually quite good. I mean, if I don't look at Twitter, generally I'm good most of the time.
Yeah, I mean it can be a cesspool of nonsense and negativity. There is that associated with it. Before we get into how was your 4th of July with the family and all of that?
I worked, but it was fun. I was on overnight shifts. I'm okay. So I will say this much, and I think this is true. And did anybody else notice this? Like, the actual 4th of July was kind of not much happened on Tuesday, but
seriously, yeah.
All the fireworks were crazy on Sunday and Monday.
Yes, no, 100%. We had a little gathering on Saturday. It rained up here Saturday afternoon, but the bulk of the fireworks were definitely Sunday, Monday. I think people did stuff after work, maybe Monday, and decompressed and cleaned up whatever Tuesday, and then got back to the grind. So no, I'm with you. That Tuesday's a weird day.
And I thought it was because everybody realized that they'd have to go back to work on Tuesday or on Wednesday. So we have 3 days here where we can just go batshit crazy on fireworks.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to just tell you that this has just put you in my mindset. I like to burn stuff, but the idea of I've bought fireworks in the past, and I've seen what a couple $100 gets me, and I'm like, man, if I wanted to actually burn money, I'll just go out and light actual dollar bills.
Yeah, no, it's a pricey thing to do. For a few years, we would put on a block party, and we'd get, me and 3 other guys would all chip in. We'd all go when it was buy one, get the most free and bonus items and all that kind of stuff. And then we would take up a 50-50 collection during the party, because we'd literally get a couple hundred people from the neighborhood that would come by. We did that for probably 5-6 years. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, and I'm glad that I don't do it anymore. Oh.
Exactly. And my poor dog.
Yeah. So one dog is not bothered by it. The other one, gets very high anxiety with it.
But before anybody comes out and starts tweeting me listen, we know this happens every year. We take care of our dog. I don't go on Facebook or Twitter and bitch out the neighborhood because they're shooting off fireworks.
Right.
I know it's coming.
Yeah.
All right. I am not one of those people who are it's blah blah. It's 11:01 and the curfew was 11.
Right.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
I care. Seriously.
No, I hear you.
So I'm not that person. Go ahead, fire them off. Now if it's give me another week and I have a massive show going off on some then I might be okay, we're way past that date now.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Michigan's law is the day before, of, and after the holiday is when you can have at it.
Like you in Michigan care about freaking laws.
Oh, I love it. Well, sir, let's the weather. The last couple of weeks in NASCAR has caused quite a stir amongst the fan base. It started with Chicago. The street course was a downpour, but the racing was actually really cool. I enjoyed the race once they got going. Then they had to cut it short. What did you actually, before we get into the weather topics, what did you think of the Chicago street course?
I was busy, so I was driving. I mean, listen. Hey, listen, first of all, NASCAR fans, on a road course, you finally got rain.
Right? Yeah, that they did.
So, that was, I hear that every time. It's like the only time everybody gets pissed off at us when we say there's no rain is when we're on a road course.
Right,
and then you finally you bitch about it.
Nope.
I mean, it can't be any worse. I was covering an event for work, and a boat race got called for rain. So you figure that one out. No, it was because of drones and safety, but still.
Yep.
And they would have finished it, but it was a wreck, and they had a red flag, and then rain comes. Sounds familiar. I was telling Aaron, this is just like complete NASCAR for me. So I liked it. And my son liked it. I think it was very weird to see them on the roads like that, but I thought after a while it started to grow on me.
Yep.
It's different. I liked seeing a different guy. It brought me back to the days of the ringers. When you used to have a ringer on it.
Absolutely. No, that was, what better way to have a first-time driver go out and win in something like that? It was I loved everything about it.
I thought it was good. I mean, yes, the weather, that's not fun. And speaking of the weather, now on Friday, listen, the downside, I'm dealing with this here coming up this weekend in my local area. When you're talking about this kind of pattern we have been in, what happens is you get these potential for clusters and convective clusters of showers and thunderstorms that can move in. So, I know our initial forecast for Sunday was not great. They got it in. But again, and I kind of said that, it's hard to timing. It's not favorable. And then when it happened, Aaron was spot on. I saw about, I'd say, 8-ish. The acceleration of the system, meaning I put something out there that the cold air was actually picking up, so the system was speeding up a little bit. So then I amended Aaron's time to 9:30, 10 o'clock, which that's when the rain came in. And all accounts, it looked like the rain was going to continue. All right? Now, keep in mind, Aaron and I don't talk to NASCAR. NASCAR doesn't ask us anything. All right? We just put out there what we thought. Yes, our forecast thought it wasn't going to end very quickly. It did end in about 2 hours or so. It ended about 11:15. I actually think it ended just about 11:30. That was the first dry report I saw from the reporting station near the track.
Okay.
It came with my homework. So then I asked somebody I know with some knowledge about drying the track. In a perfect world, now it was very humid, the winds were light, but, in a perfect world, they would have not gone back racing until probably sometime, I'd say, 1:30 in the morning.
Yep.
Now, I have a couple questions for NASCAR fans who are upset with me, who are upset with Aaron, who are upset with NASCAR. Does the winner of the race determine how pissed off you are?
It's a good possibility.
If a different driver had won this rain-shortened race that you felt was more deserving, would the vitriol nastiness that you're putting out there on social media been different? I just want them to think about that. What are your thoughts on that? Because a lot of what I saw was great race, shitty winner.
Sure. No.
Or undeserving winner.
I love that. I love the fact that that's what NASCAR fans do to a degree. And I love that because that's the passion and that they bring to the sport that keeps them, bringing their kids, all of that. It's no different of if I'm watching a Lions game and the Lions lose, kind of thing versus a driver. So yeah, I definitely think, if it's a rolling 10 to 20% that are going to have that regardless of who it was. If it was, Kyle Busch, people would have said the same. You'd have a different 10% or different 20% saying great race, crappy winner or whatever the case may be. I think that that's part of the problem, because we have all of our drivers out there at one time that, there's going to be a percentage of the fan base that's just pissed off regardless, because it wasn't their driver, and they don't, step back, and have an objective view. But that's the whole root word of fan. It's fanatic, and you want your driver, It's just a matter of people not doing it in a respectful manner on social media, because we've grown so accustomed to that invisible wall that we can, hide behind to a degree.
Now, personally, I don't care. I'm on your show because some of us have taken the crap and a little more than they needed to. Some of us just walk away and don't give a flying whatever.
Yeah.
I'm really good at that, because the amount, I don't even know what's going to happen to NASCAR weatherman beyond when TweetDeck goes away, or views, or how I can tweet, because I'm not paying.
Sure.
I make no money on this, and I'm not going to spend over $100 a year on something that I don't get a return on. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
This is not my livelihood. I've loved it for the time I had. I have no idea. I will continue to keep doing it as long as I can. I've moved over to Threads, but we will see what happens.
How many followers did you pick up on that? Because I had somebody ask me about that. I was so naive. Somebody asked me over the weekend if I had signed up and created a Threads account, and I'm like, what the hell is that?
Okay.
And then I was given the 411 on it, so I'm like, all right, well, I guess that's another platform I got to go try and...
It is. The question I have is, how long will Twitter survive?
Yeah.
And, while I don't have nearly the following on Threads as NASCAR Weatherman does on Twitter, that's okay.
Yeah.
People want it. People will find it. I'm glad, because you can basically merge your Instagram account. And that's what I did. I always had a separate Instagram account for NASCAR Weatherman. So that played out so well. But going back to what happened, and then the question is a 1:30 restart time is not really feasible on a Sunday night.
Right. You're already cutting it close because it's a Sunday night race, not on a holiday weekend kind of thing.
I'm not saying the fan base is wrong for their thoughts and their opinions and stuff like that. That's your right to have your opinion. And, a lot of people said we were wrong. We nailed the timing. Were we wrong about how long it was going to last? Yeah. I'm not going to lie, but, I can tell you right now, NASCAR made that decision not because of what Aaron and I did.
Sure.
They made literally no decisions based on anything Aaron and I did. Now, I can tell you this much. Your driver or another driver could have easily seen our post. I know it's happened in the past, that they could have seen an update from myself or Aaron about the time when the rain was going to come in, and we nailed that aspect. So pit strategy could have played a role in that information, and somebody could have been in a better position had they listened to that information. I know it's been done. I've actually been told. So, and a lot of them thought it was coming, and of course, all the fans listened. Because we're all experts, because my fingers type faster than yours on the keyboard.
Right.
Or my weather. Listen, it's great. Honestly, I think, I don't know if it was the right decision, but I can tell you right now, with that fact I had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning this morning, I wasn't gonna be up at 1:30 this morning. I would have called it in at that time because I had to get to work. I had to, I'm a fan, but I've got to be alert and ready to go to work. So, and I'm going to be miserable. So, yeah, I probably would have gone to bed anyway.
Yeah, no, I don't fault NASCAR for making that call at all. When you take into the time how long it's going to take to dry the track, that's the biggest thing right there is track drying, and then, hey, what if something else pops up, So it, based on the time when it happened, I don't fault them for making that call.
But from my sources, which are really good sources when it comes to this, they said an hour and a half to drive. Like I said, let's say it did stop at 11:20.
Yep.
Okay? You'd have to get people back and stuff like that. You're talking 1:30
Absolutely.
before you finish the race.
Yeah.
Now, some people may have wanted to do it. I don't know what the other rules are. I understand the track has, and I understand the other argument. Well, they knew the rain was a threat, so why didn't they move it up 2 hours? Well, you know, when you put a ticket out,
yes,
you have a ticket, and then you have contracts with media. Those are kind of set in stone times. It depends on how, you know, I understand it from the fans who want to be there, but what if that race started 2 hours early but wasn't broadcast?
Right. Yeah. No. That's unrealistic.
Then how would the fan base have been?
Sure. Yeah.
Right. You would have gotten to the end of the race, but what if you missed the start of the race because the NBC had other obligations, or they would have moved it to someplace that maybe your subscription doesn't have? Who knows?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's brought out by you know, and this conversation comes up every time. Well, why can't they just change the start time? Well, when you buy a ticket, you've kind of you're contractually have gone in with the track or whatever venue or whoever. When you buy that ticket, you've kind of gone into a mini contract. That's why those are terms and services and stuff like that. That's what by buying that ticket. So under an obligation, I don't know, but my understanding is there's only so much leeway they can do now. With NASCAR and the tracks. With different things, they could have potentially moved it and stuff like that. But that's not a me thing. That's not an Aaron thing. That's a NASCAR thing, and there's probably a lot more deeper. Now, maybe it is just as easy as saying, okay, we're going to run at 5 or 4 o'clock. Well, I mean, it's on a Sunday, and you know you've got a 7 o'clock ticket, and all of a sudden they move it, and you don't hear about it. Then what happens?
Yeah, it's definitely a complicated process there. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about it.
And now I now have to wonder if Atlanta still has their perfect weather guarantee or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's more of a NASCAR policy now, to where, you know, if something gets canceled or whatever, you can either get you know, a refund or for another race that year or for that track next year. There's definitely some policy in place.
Even if it's like, I thought it was like perfect weather guarantee, like even if it's like, whoa, somebody, okay. Sorry, I'm driving, and somebody decided that just because two things that matter can occupy the same space.
There's a physics issue there.
Thankfully, I realized that that's not possible.
Yes. Good times.
It is, really.
All right, we are headed to New Hampshire this weekend for the Xfinity and Cup Series. Since you're here, do you happen to have a forecast for us, sir?
Pass. I'm going to pass. No, I'm just teasing. It's our favorite weather.
Excellent.
I know I'm being facetious. There's a chance of rain going into the weekend. Now, keep in mind, this far out, it could be very much the uncertainty of timing, which is what we've been seeing with a lot of stuff recently across even you up there in Michigan. A lot of this sometimes is not all-day rain, so there's a chance. I'm not going to go odds of racing on a Monday.
Fair enough.
But definitely feel like, definitely going to be monitoring for that potential of rain and stuff like that. So.
Okay. All right.
And, you know, breaking news, I can confirm that when I was talking to my source about track driving, and I asked them, I said, 130 would seem between 1 and 130 potentially they could go back racing. This person confirmed my stat. So there you go.
Excellent.
It would have been after midnight.
It would have been unnecessarily, you know, dragged out. That's
and probably without any cautions, the last 59 laps would have taken about another hour.
Yes.
So now you're at 2:30 in the morning, but then if you have a crash or you red flag it or stuff like that, then you've got those other things.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely. Like I said, I think they made the right call. There's no doubt about that. So
I do too. I mean, it's late. I mean, nobody likes a rain-shortened race.
No.
Nobody get it. I get it. Or you know, whether you think, you know, sometimes. You know, guess what? Winners have won rain-shortened races before.
Yes. Well, I think, too, the week before, with them shortening the race during the race itself, you know, I think people were just, you know, if Chicago didn't happen the way it happened, you know, maybe people wouldn't have had as nasty tastes in their mouth with this one, but I mean, it's just
again. I think NASCAR had no choice in that race. I mean,
Yep.
they had
I agree.
It was a safety issue.
Yep.
They had all of these different things going on, and you know, and then eventually they were running out of daylight.
Yes.
Okay, and I could tell. You could tell by the. I mean, and usually those cameras are taking in a lot more light than what you see in person. So, because of the irises and stuff like that. So I can only imagine how dark it was getting
out there.
For the end with those situations. So I think shorting it like they did. I mean, NASCAR didn't have a choice to start until they had to start. I mean, it was just the nature of safety. I mean, I get it in a perfect world, but you race in an outside sport that's weather dependent, and sometimes it's going to rain.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
I mean, yeah, if you start earlier, you have more chances to make something up. But then again, in the South, in the summertime, it's hot. People don't want to be out there. I mean, unfortunately, I don't think there's a win-win for anybody anymore in NASCAR or fandom or whatever. It's either going to be, if they moved it early, it would be too early and too hot. If they move it late, it's too late. Then they run the race. I don't know if anybody's ever. I don't even know if NASCAR fans are happy anymore, and if they could ever be happy.
Yeah, that's the problem with you know, everyone being able to just go on social media and, you know, and then you just see it, all that negativity. So, but yeah, hey, on a positive news, football is less than 60 days away.
Yeah, don't sleep on the Boilermakers. I'm gonna be honest. Our new coach, I'm excited. I'm excited for the Ryan Walters era.
Excellent. No, I'm excited. Big Ten's gonna be pretty stacked this year, just across the board. Obviously, you know, Michigan should do pretty well, but the Boilermakers, no. I mean, hey,
yeah, let's not forget it was a Ryan Walters defense that almost kept you guys from going.
True story. True story. Yes. Well, listen, man, thanks for coming on for a few minutes. Appreciate it. It was fun. Definitely glad to be able to keep you and Aaron involved in some capacity with the show, even though it's not as weekly as it used to be. But appreciate it, and we will catch up soon, my friend.
Yeah, give Aaron a follow at Raceweather. At Raceweather, and find him on. I mean, I'm plugging him because he did a huge share of the work yesterday. And, you know, I sleep on it. He's probably sometimes more dedicated than I am, but he takes a lot more of the abuse. And that's stupid, and it sucks, to be perfectly honest.
No, I hear you. Yes, raceweather.net, at Raceweather. And
I'm at NASCAR_WXMAN. Who cares about me?
Yeah, so, I was going to read that. Are you? Is that the same handle for the Threads account, too?
Because I want to make it easy to find me, so I use the same thing.
I hear you. Yes, I better go sign up for that lab traffic one now. Then
exactly that way we can ignore you there too.
Absolutely. So I love it.
I'm Jesus. Love you, man.
I love
it. Thanks so much. Listen, if you find a magic bullet and an answer, then you'll be better off than most of us are.
I love it. All right, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
See ya. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, there you have an unfiltered, uncensored Brian Neudorff going deep on some frustrations there from weather, fans. I get it, too. I get it. So great to have him on there. A little different twist to what he would normally do here. So there's that. Okay. I think it's time to close this thing out with some fantasy. All right, let's close this thing out with a little Lap Traffic Fantasy. Just a reminder, get your picks in by 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Thursday. Check the website if you need to see who you still have available to pick. Keep the Twitter interaction up using hashtag LTFantasy. This past week, I had Cindric, John Hunter, and Christian Eckes for 122 points. Week high was 137 by Ray Carballo with Blaney, Hill, and Rhodes, and he did that without picking any winners. And there were a lot of drivers that picked up a win with John Hunter. Some picked them up with Corey Heim. There were quite a few winners that picked 2 winners this week. So lots of bonus points were added this week. Our top 10 currently in first place. He won segment 1, and he is back on top for segment 2 is Andrew Yu with 649 points. Michael Nebbia in is in second place with 643. Jonathan Lilly in third with 641. Dan Sherwood in fourth with 639. He dropped a couple spots. Steven is in fifth with 637. Mark Luddington in sixth, 636. Michael Mason in seventh with 632. Two-way tie for eighth with 631 between yours truly and Eric Zalin. In ninth with 629 is John Etwinsel. And in 10th with 619 is Matthew Luddington. And just so you know, 11th and 12th are both separated by 3 points there. So still anybody's ball game for segment 2 and to make the playoffs. And our cumulative in first is Andrew Yu. In second with 1803, Jonathan Lilly. In third, 1801, John Etwinsel. In fourth with 1778 is Henry Fletcher. Benton Wilson is in fifth with 1764. G.R. Davidson in sixth with 1743. Stephen is in seventh, 1741. Scott is in eighth with 1733. I am in ninth with 1731. Michael Nebbia is in 10th. Dan Sherwood 11th. Kevin Hahn 12th. Peter Kervin 13th. Jumpy Bob 14th. Matt Dabrowski 15th. And Mark Luddington wraps out the top 16. As I mentioned, bonus points. Andrew's just killing it across all three charts. He's in first with 11th. Jonathan Lilly, Pete Kervin, Scott Boys have 8th. Benton Wilson, GR, Lisa, Matt, Dabrowski, and Matthew Kendrick all have 7. So there you have that. All right, let's get to some picks. We are headed back out east to New Hampshire, where Toyota and Ford have dominated as of late, specifically Ford winning 4 of the last 5 races, and Toyota having won 6 of the last 11 races. We do not have an active Chevy winning driver. The last Chevy to win was Harvick back in 2016, and Chevy has struggled to even find the top 5 as well, only having 2 top 5s in the last 5 races there. Can Chevy break their bad luck at New Hampshire? Will we keep getting some movement in the Lap Traffic Fantasy standings? We'll find out this weekend. But first, it is time for my picks. I'm going a little off the wall here. I'm picking the same car number for both the Xfinity and Cup Series race, and that car number is 20. I am going to press my luck in the Xfinity Series with John Hunter Nemechek, and it's hard to pick against Toyota, so I will pick Toyota, and I am going to go with the 20 of Christopher Bell. So there you have my picks. Make sure you get yours in as well. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, that is going to do it for episode 315 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. Make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all at Lap Traffic PC. Huge thanks to Charles Krall and Brian Neudorff for coming on the show. We'll try to put something together for next week. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya.